Manchester United 2, Spurs 0. I'll praise my team in a minute, but I have to say how disgustingly poor Spurs are. Anti-football, no pressing, as expression says, mate, fossil football. They're actually, I can't believe they're that high in the table. I really can't. They were absolutely awful. Having said all that, we put them to the sword. And do you know what? I want to start in defence. I actually want to start in defence because Martinez literally legalised Harry Class A, he legalised him. He was absolutely on him. And people need to start respecting him. People need to start putting respect on Lisandro Martinez's name. Harry Kane and Son, the most deadly duo in the league and stuff like that, came here, didn't get a sniff. They got absolutely clamped by Varane and Martinez. He's too small, he can't do this, he can't do that. Varane, oh yeah, he's not this anymore. Toby's not world class anymore. Look, nothing, dusted, sent packing. Do you know what I mean? So we were just on them from minute one. And you know what? I was so glad about that because it was a game where we knew we was going to have the ball. How are we going to react? How are we going to take the game to Spurs? And we did it with absolute ease. The only thing that was eluding us was that goal. And we get to half time and it's like, you're probably going to need a little bit of luck. We just need a goal. And you know what? It was very fitting the way that we scored that goal as well, because it was just very fitting against playing like a team like Spurs. I'm just happy we scored a goal like that. It was just deflected, just went in, and the floodgates opened from there. So really happy with that. I have to praise Fred because the mentality he showed to come back after a poor game against Newcastle. The manager, gave him praise and gave him, confidence and belief to go and do it again. And he did that here tonight. Fred was absolutely everywhere. He was infectious. He was around the pitch everywhere. And look, we know with Fred, he could potentially start against Chelsea. And then we see a Newcastle performance. It's just that consistency with Fred. But his energy and his press and his tenacity was just absolutely infectious tonight. Even when he made a mistake, he would hunt the ball down and go and get it again. Yes, again, you're not really sure how to judge it in terms of how bad Spurs were in midfield, giving away the ball with no pressure on, just really, really poor, versus how good were we? But I have to give props where props were due because we're talking about our team, and it's exciting. When we win a game like that and players play well, you got to give them their props. Casemiro is coming into his own as well. I thought he was fantastic. Couple of little wayward passes, but by and large, he's stamping his authority. He's becoming more commanding in there. And again, though, against a poor Spurs midfield that had no tenacity about it, Casemiro had time to pick his passes, time to relax on the ball. And in other games, he might not. But in context of this game, easy, light work against this average Spurs team. It really, really was. Marcus Rashford didn't get the goals that his performance deserved. Needs to be a little bit more clinical, but he's at it. He was a constant threat. It's like the old Marcus Rashford is returning, and you've got to big up Eric Ten Hag on this, guys. He's starting to get a tune out of players. Look what Luke Shaw's doing. Luke Shaw's looks like he's got the bit between his teeth, and yes, how long will it last and all these different questions. I don't care about that side of it because I'm just talking about the 90 minutes now and how the players are responding. And they're starting to do it. They really are starting to do it. Dalo was solid today as well. Had Perisic down that side. Perisic done Jack Diddley squat, average. Dalo had him clamped, didn't do anything as well. Dalo going up the other end as well. Active. And Bruno, I said Bruno needed a big performance today, and I think we got that from him today. Was he? Marcel said he was 10 out of 10. I wouldn't say he was 10 out of 10, but he was certainly a really good player for us today. And the finish that he provided was really clinical. But the fact that it hit off, I think it hit off Eric Dyer, and just fell to him. Had to be alert to it. Just caressed it into the far corner and gave Lloris absolutely no chance when Lloris was making Lloris look good with some of the saves that he was making. Some of the saves were quite good, to be fair to him, but other ones we definitely should have taken it out of his hands so that we definitely scored. But it was a dominant performance, and what I like most about this was actually we won in a different type of way. We're showing that we're multifaceted. Against Arsenal, Liverpool here, it was different types of games. We had to be, really, really aggressive and win tackles and then look for transitions and hit them on the counter. Kind of what Tottenham would have wanted to come here and do. Today we had to show something different. We had to show something actually what we've been seeing in the last few games actually. If you look at Ammonia, I know it's a different calibre of opposition, or by the way Tottenham played actually, we probably had a more difficult game against Ammonia, to be fair to them. But you're seeing it like that. See that, bro? You're seeing it like they're creating chances, obviously 30-odd chances. And against Newcastle, you knew we wasn't going to create that many chances, but there was still somewhat of a calmness about the way that we played, somewhat like a deliberate nature to our play. And I saw the same again tonight, and we're starting to see that. I said the biggest thing about the season was, of course, you don't get a completely free hit. You know, we want to try and finish in the top 4 if we can. Definitely want a trophy if we can. But the biggest thing was the style of play. Can we see the slow progression? Can we see those little intricacies starting to come together? And again, I know Spurs were bad, but you can only play what was in front of you. And we're starting to do that. Defensively, we just look really, really organised. I mean, today, I honestly felt like Spurs would never score. I'd never been so sure that a team wouldn't score against us. And apart from the Joe Linton situation against Newcastle, again, I didn't feel that Newcastle would score either. Again, because there's an air of calmness, and that is coming from Martinez and Varane at the heart of that defence. It really is. Luke Shaw and Dalo as fullbacks are contributing to that as well. But I look at that base, that little trio of Martinez, Varane, and Casemiro. It just gives you a good nucleus there to then go and build off. So we put Spurs to the sword here, easy. Can it build confidence? I'm not going to say definitely. Of course, winning games would build confidence, but I'm not going to say that's going to make us go on a winning run, etc., because this season's going to be ups and downs. And that's why against Newcastle, yeah, it did feel like a loss. It was harsh to lose 2 points, but we have to keep remembering this is exactly what it's going to be like. There's going to be games like Newcastle where we're leaving frustrated and we're leaving thinking we should have got more. But then there's going to be games like this where we absolutely dust teams aside, you know. And make no mistake, although I'm saying Spurs are poor and are average and below par, which they absolutely were today, they're still a dogged team. You know, they played Chelsea at home and they got a little bit of luck, but Chelsea didn't win, you know. And I'm not saying Chelsea have to be the benchmark, but Spurs are good at hanging in there in games and creating those moments, you know. And so long as they're in the game, they can manifest chances for themselves on the counter-attack. But we were so good and so aggressive on Harry Kane, so aggressive on Son, so aggressive in midfield to make sure Spurs couldn't mount any sort of attack, that Spurs couldn't muster up that chance. David De Gea had absolutely nothing to do, apart from, I think Kane was even offside anyway, but he came rushing out and blocked that shot. Other than that, David De Gea didn't have to make a save. Whilst Lloris should be asking for double time, triple time, he should be asking for a pay rise because he was working incredibly hard to make sure that Spurs stayed in the game. So that's testament to us, it's testament to what Ten Hag's doing. I think the only kind of passenger today was Jadon Sancho. Didn't have his best game. I'm surprised he stayed on for as long as he did. But then when I think about it, I think Ten Hag was happy with the movement and the fluidity of the front three, and obviously chose not to bring on Ronaldo, and he went walking down the tunnel a couple of minutes earlier. I don't know if a lot's being made of that. It is what it is. But the focus shouldn't be on Ronaldo. It should be on this team. And the team right now is showing that they are together. They're showing that there's good signs there, and we're so much more difficult to play against. I don't think that teams come to Manchester United knowing that they can come here and score a shed load of goals, you know. And it's so good to get, you know, back-to-back clean sheets, yes, but a clean sheet today and to get a couple of goals as well. And again, should have been more. My man of the match, I've got to give it to Fred. I thought he was absolutely outstanding. It could have been Casemiro. It could have been Bruno. It can easily be Lisandro Martinez as well, who was absolutely unreal. So tight onto Kane, just didn't give him a sniff. So, yeah, but I think in the light of Fred having such a poor game before, you could say it's a bit unfair, you know, that he shouldn't just get a man of the match performance because he had a bad game last game when somebody else might have played better. But I just think he showed great character, great tenacity, and I just felt like everything we did good tonight came from a result from Fred. So big up to him. Long may it continue. It doesn't normally with Fred. You're never sure what you're going to get with him, but he was fantastic today, and that's my man of the match. I'm out of here. Take care. Peace.